your pony knowledge by. Oh, better. I got a place where winning ain't tough to do. You wanna be cool, stable too. Your horse racing fantasy come true. But no, stable duel.
Download the Stable Duel app and play today.
July the 8th, it's Friday. You know what that means. It means we've got this weekend in Stable Duel for you. Matt DeSantis, Barry Spears joining me. We're going to have a special guest joining us in just a moment also. But another fun Stable Duel weekend, as it's sort of the calm before the storm in the next couple of weeks, where Saratoga is going to open up. We're going to have Del Mar opening up. That'll be a lot of focus for people during the summer months. And for Stable Duel over the next couple months, we'll have a lot of Del Mar best plays and Del Mar Friday, Saturday plays on our streams through the next few weekends. But Matt, this is another fun one because this weekend on Saturday in particular, as we look at the Stable Duel schedule, there are Horseshoe, Indiana, Delaware, and Prairie Meadows that are the sort of the major focus. And then Ellis Park also opens up. So there are fun games, cool contests, big races, just at tracks that we may not normally see big races each and every weekend.
Absolutely. And they're big. Yeah, they're big weekends, with the Indiana Derby, the Iowa Derby, the Delaware Handicap. So big weekends, nice horses, big time names. If you're not familiar with those tracks, it's not the end of the world because there's a lot of big names shipping in for those races. Yep. Same thing's true with Ellis Park, always has really strong shippers. And I also think a lot of really good first timers running there. Our boy Santine, if I'm not mistaken, broke his maiden at Ellis Park. So always want to get that Santin money. And so that is, but no, it's a great lineup, of those kind of what we would consider maybe secondary tracks. And it keeps rolling through the week, Assiniboia on Mondays, but then also starting this Monday, Colonial down here in Virginia is starting their meet on Monday as well. So a lot of really fun tracks to dive into with great contests coming up in between this kind of lull between the start of New York and California and Kentucky eventually.
Sniper's rocking the beautiful creamsicle hat over there, my man. How we doing this weekend? Ready to rock and roll?
Always, my brother. You know me.
That's why you don't have to get ready when you stay ready. And
that's right.
Sniper
is stay
always
ready.
Yeah, the Sniper is always ready. Like always, we're gonna jump into dishing out our best bets for Friday, for Saturday. But to kick off the show this weekend, we want to welcome in someone. This is someone who has a lot of fun, and we really enjoy each week. That Jake with Thrilling Picks joins us every week. He's watching, and he's usually doing the play-by-play via GIFs and memes. If we're talking about anything funny or goofy, Jake will always let us know. And so for a fun week, we wanted to bring him in to share some plays with us. So Jake joins us. Jake, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, guys. Thanks for inviting me and allowing me to participate.
Well, we really appreciate
Yeah. No, it's been a lot of fun. I feel like I've earned my spot by being like your tech support or your gift guy.
I agree. I was going to say it's been well earned. We appreciate it. You're very creative with the gifts and the memes and everything on social media. So Jake, before we get into a couple of your plays, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about how you got into handicapping, into horse racing in general, and give us a little bit of background.
Sure. So, Gino, I spent most of my career has been in data science, working in different types of startups for past 15 years. And that's all really been focused on marketing analytics. So that's like where there's some kind of crossover. So there's that. And then there's Easygoer, Sunday Silence from 1988, 1989, right? So that's always been in the back of the mind. So a few years ago, I thought, well, how do I mix both worlds? How do I take data science and apply it to horse racing? And is there a reason to do so? So I started tinkering on a few things, building a few algorithms, and I was like, oh, wow, there's a bit of a science. So handicapping's an art, but there's also a predictable science to it. And so you look at handicappers and you look at angles and you hear all different angles, so-and-so from this trainer or this jockey's hot. And that's great. You can bet Erod all day long and, 4 out of 8 races, he's going to win, right? Depending on what track it is. But the secret behind it is regression analysis. And when you actually look at data and you look, and I know you guys use Formulator and different pieces of software and other ones, but the way that they're making predictions is they're using regression analysis. They're looking backwards. They're trying to create models around past races and identify, patterns. What worked here, and is it going to work today? Are those attributes present in today's race? So that's essentially my approach, is regression analysis. So I built a few algos. I put that into an app. Thrill Picks itself started before COVID, and it was specifically a way to broadcast picks. That's it. So I'm a tout, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But it's like a dirty word, but it was really just,
we all are. It's like, ooh, you can't say
yeah. Someone called me a
nothing
tout
wrong with
yesterday. I'm like, what? It's capitalism. If you don't want to sell what your knowledge is, then you've got nothing, right? So whatever. So that being said, Thrill Picks was just a way to broadcast picks. It was a hobby. And then I hit a really large ticket, $198,000 on the Pick Six at Gulfstream. It was a game changer in many ways. It was on a $900 ticket. Never use the all button. I don't advocate using the all button because it crushes your ROI, but some people are phenomenal at that, and I've learned to let that go. So that being said, I started developing a bootcamp course 2 summers ago during lockdown. I started hosting different handicapping classes live, and from that developed a lot of cool friendships. And after that, we've been working on our own class, a video course, and we'll see where that goes. So I'll put a period there.
Awesome, Jake,
Nice.
man, you are sharp. We can obviously tell. And it's great that I think with everyone, you have to have that analytical approach. You also, like you said, you have to look at it with a little bit of an eye also, right? It's got to be, you have to be able to do a little bit of both to know sometimes when the numbers that you're looking at, maybe not quite meeting what you're seeing with your eye. And it's great that you also are someone who came in from an analytical side, but like always, we all get involved in these things because we're fans, and it was the horses that really brought you in. So let's talk. Oh yeah, the horse for you, and let's talk about some of those big horses. So first off, give us your plug one more time. Where can we find out more about you if we want to follow you along with social media, with your website, everything like that?
Sure, thanks. So Gino, you can. Twitter right now is probably the best place to find me. On there's a link at the top that goes to a Substack. From there, you'll see some blogs. The Android app, the app is only for Android right now. I have a desktop portal. I'll send you the link. I'll put it on Twitter. But after that, in the next few weeks, you'll see the boot camp, and that'll probably take over Twitter. So for right now, just follow me on Twitter, and we'll see where things develop over the summer.
Awesome, Jake. Okay, so now the pressure is on, my friend. You have a couple plays you said for Saturday that you were maybe looking at Indy. Is that right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay,
so
let's pull up some Saturday Indy. Go ahead.
Yeah,
and give us
to recap for new users to Stable Duel, so I can understand things, right? Yep. You don't just want chalky horses, right? You want some long shots because the chalky horses, they're going to eat up your budget really fast. Is that right?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. So race number 5. Look, Indiana, you're going to get some chalk. It's just how it is all day long. I've been looking at it. So race number 5, you have the distaff. To catch the winner using regression analysis, there's a broad net, and you can use that broad net and recognize that it's the 2, the 3, the 6, and the 4. Those are the best plays for the distaff in race number 5. Now, that being said, you're not going to use all 4 horses because it's kind of chalky.
Yeah.
But if you zoom in a little bit more, you want to get maniacal with best speed at that distance and best speed on turf. That combination of that angle, that's going to elevate the number 3 horse, Lake Luzerne, and number 4, Hendy Woods. That being said, if you had to choose one of them, again, it's a little chalky. Go with Hendy Woods. I don't believe it's the morning line favorite. I think it's the second, but at least it's not the morning line favorite.
And she's this is a mare that I followed for a while. She's got some real ability. She's kind of had some sneaky troubled trips throughout. She's run into some really nice horses. You see Regal Glory, what she's become. 2 starts back, she was beaten by Bleecker Street. She was a length behind Bleecker Street, who we've literally seen Bleecker Street do Nothing wrong. Bleecker Street is a perfect 7 for 7 right now. So Jake coming with a nice 4-1 shot. Won't cost you a whole lot of your stable duel budget there. And that's going to be on Saturday at Indy in race number 5. It's a really good card there, Jake. They have 12 races total, and 8 of them are stakes races on the card. So you said you have a couple more on Indy's card to possibly look at for Saturday, right?
Race number 8, the Michael Schaefer Memorial Stakes.
Awesome. Okay, where are we looking in the 8th?
The number 6 horse is the favorite. I'm not giving that out as a play. Could it win? Sure. Thomas Shelby.
Yep.
Isn't that the character from Peaky Blinders?
Yeah, I think so.
It is, right?
Yeah.
So somebody put up a meme for Peaky Blinders later.
There we go. We got to get that one in there, please. Someone has to do it for Jake while he's on, right? Someone's got to take the
catch
role
up afterwards, right?
Yeah.
So past winners for this race all have a certain rank for lifetime speed, earnings, late pace. That's actually much more highly visible with the number 5 horse South Bend. So it won't provide much more value than the chalk, but South Bend is the horse to win. So depending on what you're doing, if you're playing a ticket to win, number 5. If you're playing stable duel, 5 still better value than number 6.
Yep.
So that being said, I would stick with Bill Mott's horse, number 5, South Bend.
South Bend in race number 8. As we continue on through the Saturday Indy card, there's one more that Jake had mentioned. Is this
Race
one's in
number
the Derby, right? The Indiana
Yep,
Derby.
the Derby.
Okay, cool.
All right. So Rattle and Roll is the chalk, number 6.
Yep.
So how do you beat that horse? You beat it with. Does anyone, by the way, did you guys look at this card? Do you have any opinions before I pollute the pool?
No. Please go ahead, and I'll piggyback your point afterwards. Yeah.
All right. I would go with the Brad Cox horse. I think it's number 7.
Yeah.
All right.
These two are both reportedly going to run in this race. Best Actor, Actuator, I believe, is also running here. We're looking because there's a lot of horses in this race and in the other race that were cross-entered in a couple races here and at Prairie Meadows. These two lightly raced horses towards the outside are very, very interesting. And I think of all of these horses, Jake, if anyone's playing any type of like pick 4s, pick 5s, I couldn't play a ticket without Best Actor on it. I think he's got the most upside. He's shown that he's got speed. He can sit off a little bit. If he jumped up with a big performance, it would be very, very logical. And so I'm going to use him in all exotics too.
Yeah. So E2 pace, E1 pace, lifetime earnings, number 7, Best Actor. Like you said, pick 4s, whatever you're doing multi races. I would even single that horse if that might be one way to cut down your cost of tickets. Now for stable duel players that want a little bit more value and want that upside, for that same model of E2-1 and E1 pace and earnings, Racing Rachel hit it on the head yesterday. Number 3, Mowens. I think it's at 15-1 or 12-1.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one horse that's actually sits in the model as well. It's
Nice.
just hard to believe at 15-1
because he's a local horse, right? He's not quite as classy. We haven't seen him face some of the company the others have, but if you sort of dig into his races, going a little bit longer at Indy, he's been very, very successful, and he fits with these at a big price.
Yeah, and now educate me with stable duel. Do you have to have the horse that wins, or if it hits the board?
No, so now that's what's nice is that any top 5 finish, you're going to pick up some points. And in a situation like this with a 15-1 shot, it's only going to cost you $750. No, $500. 750 would be for 12. 750 would be for like 12-1. So this is not going to cost you much at all. Mowens is a great use on a big Saturday card over at Horseshoe Indianapolis. 3 plays. So actually 4 if you want to talk about both that we got from Jake here, and a couple different opportunities in the Indiana Derby. Jake, it has been a blast catching up with you. Thank you so much. It's always fun. I'm always looking forward to how you're following along with us. You've been someone that I enjoyed talking with over the last few weeks and going back and forth a little bit with you. We wanted to pick your brain, and we hope you come back and hang out with us again in some of the summer weeks. We'd love to hear from you, and you obviously got a very good head on your shoulders. We're going to continue to check out some of the products and stuff you have going on over there. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thank you for having me, guys. See you later.
That's Jake. Great stuff from Jake there, and we'll definitely be having him back to help us out. So if anyone's playing some of those indie contests for Saturday, we'll get there in just a little bit, and maybe we'll add a couple to go along with some of Jake's plays. So now we actually can have the face to go with the Jake from State Farm, Jake from Thrilling Picks memes. That
his face looks just like his Twitter
it does.
picture.
Yeah,
As
his
the
avatar.
cartoon, but I was expecting to see a little bit different. You know how when somebody does like a cartoon character themselves is not really the same, but he's the same.
They look good. I was gonna
He's the
say
same.
Accurate representation. That was
It
good.
is.
Yeah.
it was. Okay, cool. Well, let's we'll revisit Saturday in just a minute. Let's go back to Friday a little bit first, and we'll go in order. Friday, I'm at Gulfstream. I know, Matt, you said you have Prairie Meadows too.
I have Gulfstream, and I know Sniper's got Gulfstream.
Yep, perfect. So let's dive into Gulfstream Park. Barry, I'm looking in the 3rd and in the 7th at Gulfstream. Where are you looking for golf?
5, 6, 8,
Okay.
and 9.
Lots of golf. Let's jump on in. And
I'm in 1 and 7.
okay, cool. So we'll be all over the Gulfstream Park card. Just to remind everybody, Gulfstream Park is a $25 contest, $1,000 in prizes, and the top 5 split the pool here. So one of those newer formatted games where the top 5 will all get an even share. And race number 1 will kick things off, and that's where you are, right, Matt?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, tell us where we're going.
Yeah, so we're going to go to the number 6 horse, Exponential, at 6-1. It's going to cost $5,000. This is just a rehash, a 12.5 claimer, mile 70 on the synthetic for 3-year-olds and up. And this is an interesting race. And Peter Walder, who's the trainer of Exponential, has another horse in this race, El Picador, who's the number 3 horse, actually at 9-2. What's fascinating is that the 3 and the 5 are probably going to go at it up front a little bit. The 5 seems to be a little bit of a need the lead type of horse, but also has a reputation for fading, which Exponential has taken advantage of in the past.
So you're telling me you're not a fan of Return of the Mac?
I trust me,
Ooh.
there are so many other music references I have.
She said she'd never
It's out of the-
turn
yeah.
on me. You lied to me. That was a jam, right? You know, yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
I was,
But no
blasting
Mac
that.
today. No Mac today.
I was banging that in a 1997 Mercury Sable at one point. But that was,
Man.
that was, but Exponential, it's interesting because I think, Walder has these 2 horses. El Picador is going to be out front, and then Exponential, who kind of comes from the clouds. And so I think the race sets up really nicely for Exponential because there's going to be a little bit of a contested pace up front. And now Exponential has something to run into, which is something he does pretty well. This is a very even horse. I mean, all these horses are only kind of 2-time winners, but 11 for 19 in the money. So very consistent horse, has shown the ability to track down and pass Mac, for instance, when there's an honest pace a couple of races back. And I think the issue, I don't dislike the 5, but I think the issue is that the 5 just needs really slow fractions to be able to carve out that right trip. And I just don't think he's going to get it. So I think for Exponential, 6-1, $5,000. It's your average cost for a horse on Stable Duel. Just feels like a really honest horse that's going to give you a really honest effort. I like this horse. This is my pick to win, but I just don't think this horse is going to run poorly today. As we talk about so many times, one of the big keys to Stable Duel is avoiding those red numbers and avoiding those negative numbers, or just avoiding an 8-point horse. And I just don't see Exponential being that. I think this is a first or second place horse in this race. So I really like the number 6 in the first race at Gulfstream today.
Exponential for Maddie there to kick off the Gulfstream card. So Barry, did you say you have race 2? No 2. I think I have the 3rd, and
Nope.
nobody has the
5,
2nd, right?
6, 8, 9.
Okay, cool. I'll go to the 3rd, and then we'll continue along. So this one's going to be a 5 furlong synthetic sprint, and I'm going to go to the outside in here with the number 8 Papa Diamante. So this 3-year-old filly, she's going to add the blinkers, I think lots of positives to look at with her. So she's raced twice, and each of them was followed by a little bit of a layoff, a little bit of time off. This barn, when you dive into how they've done with the new acquisitions, they're actually really good with new acquisitions or horses off the claim. 4 for their last 16. They add the blinkers. They drop in class from maiden 40, their first start at maiden 25. Now they're on the synthetic at a lower level again at a maiden 12.5 level. So it's got some action on the drop last time out. Here's what I like. You've gotten speed from her in both of her starts. She's actually shown that she can kind of sit and press a little bit just off, and you continue to drop. You get a softer spot, and you're drawn well towards the outside. There just seem like a lot of positives for a horse dropping in class. And when you look at the way the race kind of shapes up, I think there's only one, like maybe the 6 shows a little bit of like early positional speed. Maybe we get a little, and then the 1 is the horse that's probably going to flash some speed. There's not that much other speed. The 2 has been showing speed going a little bit longer recently, so I don't know if they're going to be as quick as the 8 coming out of some sprint races. You have a first-time starter here. The 4's not really that quick. The 5 flat out cool has only been really showing like route speed a little bit more recently. So I feel like this horse could at least get a pretty good trip, kind of falling into a nice, not fast pace, dropping in class, giving you a good run for your money at, an 8-1 price. So it's only going to cost you $3,000 in stable duel. Papa Diamante for me, adding the blinks in race number 3. So that's race 3 at Gulfstream Park. Matt, you're in
I'm in 7. So Barry's got
7. So Barry's next with race number 5. Sniper, tell us who we're looking at in this 5th race.
Well, the 5th race is, the quintessential new Gulfstream Park race, which is 5 furlongs on the Tapeta.
Yep.
Or Tapeta. I don't know how you say it. I still haven't gotten a definitive answer on how to say that. But this is a starter allowance for 16,000. Nobody's that ever won a race other than maiden claiming their starter or state bred allowance under 16,000. This is a race where I like a horse in number 4, Officer Country at 6-1, who, if you go back and look at his past performances, down last year, early this year, ran some great races. Great as in this company or this level. Back in November, you see November 21st, finished 3rd, closing like a freight train. December 10th, same thing, just missed by a head. January 5th, got it done. Going away, they stepped him up to open 10,000 and ran a decent race. But, from November 21st up to the present, this horse really hasn't run a bad race.
No.
Just has been doing the same kinds of things. I think this little cutback to 5.5 is really going to do this horse a lot of good. There's plenty of speed in here, and most of it is on the inside. So 1, 2, and 3 really have a lot of speed here. So there's going to be plenty of speed to run at. I've said this a million times that I like the late outside move on the Tapeta, no matter what distance it is. And I think I'm going to get that. They get Top Rider this time, Hot Rider and Edgar Perez. So I think it's go time.
I like this.
I like this play a lot. Yeah.
It's a good cutback. You'll have some late punch. Officer Country for the Sniper. That's going to come in race number 5 a little later on today. Then we head right next door, Matt, right, for your next play in the 6th.
No, Sniper's got 6.
Sniper's got the double. Sniper's always got the
man.
Yeah,
Sniper's always got the back.
That's why he's got the 8-9 too.
That's what we do. That's
he
what we
always
do.
rolls with the double. Tell us where we're looking in race number 6. So we've got we got the 2-year-olds here.
Yeah, maidens,
Nice.
state bred maiden 2-year-olds. So usually these races could get kind of wacky, but I don't think this one is going to get wacky. I think the morning line was just a little bit off center here. Not wildly, but I like the 10 Cloud Storage here. First timer for Cassie with Chantel Sutherland aboard. There's really not much in here. The horses that have run were okay. Val's Gal might, you might want to take a second look at that one from the Ralph Nix barn that he does well with second time starters in general. But other than that, there's no world beaters in here.
No.
This horse, seems to be in a good spot. I just like the outside post to boot. But there's not much in here. I like the
No.
last two works on this horse on June 25th, 48-1, breezing from the gate, and then a blowout on July 2nd here, 36-4, breezing from the gate, which kind of is a little bit better than everybody else in this field. Funny enough. So he may be a little bit quicker than a lot of these horses, or she might be. And being on the outside, she can get good position. If she decides that she's faster or is just plain faster than everybody else, she can go to the lead. If not, she can kind of sit a good trip here. It's worth taking a shot. 5-1. You're not spending a whole lot of money for a horse that has a pretty good shot here.
Like this one. Cloud Storage to the outside for the Sniper in race number 6. Only going to cost you $6,000 in your stable dual lineup at that 5-1. So Matt, we are both in the 7th race.
Yeah.
Okay. You do the honors, my friend.
All
Tell
right,
us where
let's
you want to
see.
start.
Well, there's 2 ladies in this race, but I'm going to go with Lady Emily, the number 4
Okay.
horse.
Okay.
And so, because there's also the Lady J
Yeah.
in this race as well. And so this is a $20,000 optional claimer for state breds, mile 70 on the synthetic, 3-year-olds, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, I should say. And so Lady Emily, 5-1, $6,000 for your stable dual lineup. Here's what's interesting about this race. And Gino, you probably have a similar perspective, even if you're on a different horse, which is 6 of the 7 horses in this race are between 3-1 and 6-1.
Yep.
So in a lot of ways, this feels like a pick'em race
It
where
does.
you just go, who are you going to go? Well, I might as well. I'm not going to go with the 3-1 or the 4-1 or the 7-2. Like I'll go with the, 5-1 with a little bit more value with Lady Emily. One of the things I like about this horse has been running against open competition.
Yep.
By and large, broke its maiden against state breds easily first time out, and then went and promptly ran against open competition. Was switched barns last time out. Sweezy put him on the synthetic, and she really perked up, ran a big race, got a win, and is now kind of moving up, if you will, to an optional claimer, but also moving into state breds, which is probably going to be a slightly easier company. And so the other thing I like is there's going to be some pace for this horse to run into. The 2, the 3, and the 6 are all going to go. And while the synthetic has been, and Barry, this is something you've talked about before, that the more you run on the synthetic, the more honest of a surface it gets. And while the synthetic has become a little bit more honest and a little bit more fair to early speed, it still is not. I don't like early speed routing still on the synthetic. And so I'd much rather play a horse like Lady Emily, who's going to be coming in late and is going to be making that late move. So, she's a deep closer, but I think, there's going to be the pace for her to run into. You got Junior Alvarado aboard again. Like I said, I really like, Sweezy's transition to the synthetic last time. Seems to really like that surface. At 5-1 is one of the longer shots of the kind of middle group of 6 that are all around the same price. So Lady Emily for me is the play in race 7. But Gino, where are you going to go in this race?
Yeah, it's funny because just like you were saying, some of the things I'm looking at, one, in a race where a lot of horses are being grouped similarly, I'm going to go to I Believe in Magic, who is one of those better prices. I Believe in Magic of the speed horses is one that I actually think can sit of all of them. And she's drawn to the outside of the speeds, which probably gives her the best opportunity to sit. She was a debut winner against Open Company, going 7 on the dirt. She stepped up against winners in her second start, and she ran really, really well on the synthetic, going a mile 70 last time out. That race was a lot tougher than the race that she's in right now. That was an Open Company first level allowance race. She's back in here against Florida breds now. She's going to get back to the synthetic where she ran her best race, even when she was second and she was slightly defeated that day. And in her last start, what I like, she ran the same exact race. She was close up. She was 3 wide.
Yep.
She was kind of in between horses. And what ended up happening, I can pull it up, and she ended up just getting like a wide in between trip. So she's the number 6 in the race that we're watching also here. So her start is good. She's right there with them, but you'll notice they're lined up. They're all crowded right up on the lead. So she's 3 deep, but she's 3 deep with two other horses who are outside and in between. So you're not necessarily getting that comfy trip. Then you've got the 4 who's kind of trying to rush up on the inside. The 2's kind of up on the inside. Now look at how like wide and in between this horse is when they show the head on. You know, they're all lined up right across the track. That's not the easiest trip, at least in this situation, which I agree with you, Matt. There is a pretty good amount of speed in here. She'll at least be able to kind of keep in the clear if she wants. And maybe if they want to go a little quicker and get in front of it or sit behind. But I love the way that she was able to loom right up again. And I agree with you. In a race where a lot of horses are going to be close to around the same price, I'm going to look to one of the bigger of those prices, which is the number 6, I Believe in Magic.
Yeah, well, it's funny because this is a race I did handicap, and I like the horse a lot, but I didn't want to give it out because the morning line was too low.
Oh, nice.
I like the 5. I like the 5 a lot here.
Oh,
okay, yeah.
You know,
another one who
just
can
a little
sit
bit
a little
under, right?
Yeah.
And the thought process for me was that, you know, this horse is the cutback is, well, not really the cutback, but the last race that this horse won on the synthetic or ran on the synthetic, which was last time out on June 11th, was pretty damn good, especially against a couple of these other runners who might be compromised by the pace scenario. So that's why I thought 5 was pretty good here. And I also, I described the synthetic as a kid breaking in a baseball glove.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's how I described that actually yesterday. Someone was asking me about it.
Nice. So
they're like halfway through. They got rubber bands still on it.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got the oil.
They got the oil. Yeah. The rubber band's still on there though.
Yeah. And we'll move along right next door to race number 8 because you've got another one here, Sniper, where we go back to the dirt, right? First level allowance.
Absolutely. That's
Okay,
what we like.
Where we looking?
This is a tough race, to be honest with you. You know, a lot of these horses are coming out or dropping in class a little bit. Some out of stakes races, some is running with stakes company quite a bit. So I felt like this race was kind of wide open, and there's a lot of speed in here. You have a horse in number 7, Margot Romance, who has no shot other than to get to the lead.
Going.
Yep.
They have to go, and you may get some pace pressure from the 2 inside horses, Mina Greta and Grandma's Pudding, and if that develops, if that pace scenario develops, it's going to be quite interesting how the rest of these trips work out. But even the 9, to be honest, is probably going to force the issue, and that kind of goes into my pick, who is number 10, Running Legacy, who is the stablemate to number 9.
Yeah.
So my thought process here is, it looks like, at least on paper, that the 10 is a little more well meant from the barn than the 9, especially in this spot. Spectacular Gal, the 9, hasn't run since January 2nd. Shows a lot of speed. I'm guessing they're going to try to force the issue no matter what. This isn't the race that they want to win, and if they happen to win it, fine. But it just seems like this horse is up against it. And forcing the pace will open it up for a horse like Running Legacy to come running late. You can see back on December 9th, 2021, this horse broke his maiden first time out in a maiden special weight, going a mile and 70 on the synthetic, getting back to what he's used to, or she's used to. And you know, the buyer numbers are pretty solid in comparison to the rest of these. Wouldn't have to jump up a whole lot to beat a horse like, let's say, number 4, Love Her Lots, who's probably going to take a lot of action, just because the horse has been kind of hanging around in these type of races, not necessarily winning them, but is close. So you know, given that I know that horse is going to take a lot of money, this probably puts Running Legacy in a good spot at a good price.
You're right. And just comparing the 2 of these who are similar prices from the same barn, this is a horse who broke the maiden first time out against maiden specials. This is a horse who they thought enough of to at least toss into the Gulfstream Park Oaks that day. They, you know, in comparing to the 9 Spectacular Gal, who had to go down to the maiden 16 level to break the maiden and then kind of try to step back up. Running Legacy, her A game, her upside is definitely there, and she should get a trip in this spot too. Yep, she's a good play at 5,000 on the 6-1 morning line. Sniper, you're going to close this out, I believe, right? You have one more at
Oh
at
yeah,
Gulfstream
yeah, the
in
bailout.
The bailout. Bailout Barry. Tell us how we're bailing it out.
All right. Yeah, this is another one. You know, I think this late pick 5 sequence is pretty good, to be honest with you. You know, there's a possibility it could be all chalk, but not, you know, not a high percentage. I think it's gonna pay, and it's gonna be some decent prices along the way. And to end it off, I like number 5, Something Right. You know, this is a cheap, or excuse me, inexpensive
Who's not following their
claimer.
own advice?
Right,
Oh,
that's my bad. That's my bad. Talking with Chuck too much on the phone.
Low level.
I love that we blame Chuck for this.
Yeah, you know, that's my man. You know, he's not watching this. Maybe he is. But yeah, you know, this horse, Something Right, you know, ran 2 pretty good races on the turf. You know, early on, February and March of this year, broke his maiden second time out in Maiden Claver for 35,000. Then they stepped him up to a 35,000 non-winners of 2. Seemed a little bit overmatched in both of the last 2 races, and then I like the switch over to the Tapeta, and then stretching back out. I think the class, you know, just a slight class drop is going to do this horse a world of good. He has enough tactical speed here to sit behind horses like the 6 Rubisa, and you know, the outside horse Splicer is probably going to show, you know, somewhat a lot of speed here. And even the inside horse Twin Cause, who I did do a double take on, I thought that horse may have some upside here, even coming out of a maiden race, but not enough to put on top. But Something Right just seems like he may get the trip.
Something Right, 10-1, only going to cost Barry 1,000 in the stable dual lineup there. So we got a lot for you today at Gulfstream Park all the way throughout the card. Hopefully we steered you in the right direction once or twice. And Matt, I only have the rest Saturday. You have a couple for Friday Prairie, right? It's a good night tonight. There's some stakes races there tonight, and I think there's also a free ride contest.
There's a
tonight.
free ride, and I think there's a $60 contest. So there's a couple. So you know, if you just want to dip your toe into Prairie Meadows and you know, play that a little bit, it's always a great, you know, time to obviously find out a new track, do it at a low cost and low effort situation. I also want to, you know, because we've talked about, and Gino, you've always been so kind as to give me some time to talk about some of the thoroughbred aftercare programs. I do want to give a shout out to one particular program, Hope for Racing Thoroughbreds, which actually partners with Prairie Meadows.
Oh, that's cool.
And so they do a great job working with the horsemen and horsewomen at Prairie Meadows to make sure that there's a soft landing spot for horses when they're done on the racetrack. So always like to see those partnerships between those types of aftercare programs and the actual track and the horse people there. So just wanted to give them a shout out. But yeah,
thanks for mentioning, Matt.
And so. But the Prairie Meadows card tonight, we'll start with race 6, and so that's one of the stakes races tonight, which is for 2-year-old fillies, and so it's 5.5 furlongs on the dirt, and I'm going to go to the number 3, Corningstone, who is 6-1 on the morning line, and I have a feeling is going to get bet down to I don't even know what by the post time because. This is a horse, like I said, I just think this horse, like I said, 6-1 in the morning line, $5,000 in stable duel is not going to cost you much money, but is going to take on a lot. Highest buyer speed figure in the field from the first time out. Ran the distance of 5.5 furlongs last time. Some of these horses ran 4.5 and are now, you know, stretching out another furlong a little bit. Getting Lasix for the first time as well. And if you look, this horse ran at by far and away the highest level race out of everybody else. This horse ran at $106,000 maiden special weight at Churchill. everybody else in this race has been running at like $32,000 main special weights at some of those, Midwestern tracks. So this horse went up against, I mean, in some ways, this horse is taking a cutback because this is only $100,000 race, and so so they're losing money here by running in the stakes race. And interestingly enough, that race that Corningstone ran in the debut on June 17th has actually already produced a next out winner. The fourth place horse, Just Like Magic, actually came back and won at 6 furlongs next time out at another $100,000 maiden special weight. So that has come back a little bit live already, pretty quickly. So I just think the combination of this horse kind of running against the best company, or at least in the highest spot, the connections with Ken McPeak, training this horse, getting Lasix for the first time. It just feels like a horse that's going to take on a lot of money, but from a stable duel standpoint, we can take advantage of that morning line a little bit. And again, one of the things, Barry, you did it at the Gulfstream. I did it last week at Gulfstream. I think when you get to these 2-year-old races, you don't want to spend up because there's way too much variability from race to race. And so finding those horses that are 5-1, 6-1, 8-1, that
you've already seen this horse get out of the gate, right?
Exactly.
You already know she can get out of the gate well. She drew the rail. She's getting Lasix for the first time. And I guess that makes me Ron Burgundy if you're Veronica Corningstone.
I was going to say, milk was a bad choice.
I was going to say, I won't tell you to go F yourself, Matt. I promise you that. I won't. I don't read. I actually joked with one of the guys on Louisiana Downs broadcast the other day. I asked for a graphic. I said, but you got to be careful because I am Ron Burgundy. So if you type out there to tell everyone to go F themselves, I'll actually say it.
I won't tell you that you have bad hair, Gino. I mean, that's the trade-off.
Your hair is stupid.
I just got to, I know, so many good ones. I was just pulling up one thing that says, here are 10 facts to know about Veronica Corningstone. And they're just like random facts about her character, like the powerful shoulder pads that she wears and just funny stuff. So shout out to the anchor man there. As you said, you have one or two more on Friday?
Yeah, last one, bailout as well in race 10. We'll go to the other maiden special weight, or not the other, I shouldn't say that, but a maiden special weight, 32,000 for 3 to 6 year olds, 6 furlongs on the dirt. I'll take a look at the number 4 horse, Buzzer, at 10-1. It feels like a horse that
it's a great name for a horse.
It is a great name for a horse.
It actually
is. And this is a horse that was kind of moving in the right direction and was progressing pretty nicely. And if you notice, last time out in that June 17th race, took on a fair amount of money and was kind of getting some action at the betting windows, and then just didn't really run. And it was just that was a race. It was just, we talked about this before, it was just a merry-go-round. I mean, everybody just, the Chicago Chrome broke like a bullet that day, and everybody just ran in place around the track. And Buzzer kind of made a little bit of a middle move around the turn, and then just kind of flattened out down the stretch. But nobody really passed anybody that day. And so, and it was also a little bit of a super wide trip. So I just think this is a better spot. I think there's going to be a little bit of speed this time. You're going to look at the 5, the 7, and the 9 are all probably going to show speed. So the fact that there's going to be something for Buzzer to run into this time as opposed to last time, I think will be beneficial. The horse has the second best late speed in the field. So I think there's something there. And like I said, if this horse can get back on the track it was prior to that last start, those, buyer speed figures of the 55 to 59 are right there with anybody else in the field. So I just think it makes a lot of sense to use this horse at 10-1. It's not only going to cost you $1,000. It's kind of a low risk horse that I think is going to turn in a pretty strong showing in race 10 in the maiden special weight.
It's for horses like this that I miss being at TVG and like being on track so I could go ask what the story of the horse's name is.
Yeah.
I want to know now. It's probably something silly like Buzzer is a nickname for some kid, right? That they know, like a family friend or something. It's probably, it's usually something that's really easily explained in like a 2 sentences, but when you don't know what it is and your mind can start to get to funny places, it's always like, okay, Why is there a horse just called Buzzer? You know, like here we go.
Yeah,
So,
especially if it's not like obvious from the immediate pedigrees too. When you're looking at like,
Sky
is there like
Kingdom,
something
Be
in
My
there? You're like-
Honeycomb?
I mean,
I
honeycomb,
don't-
maybe bees,
Yeah,
buzz.
bees.
I don't
Okay,
know.
there we go. There you go. Buzzer, honeycomb. Okay, yeah, and the kingdom. So okay, yeah, there. Okay, we're getting there.
We're getting there. I'm
We're
not
getting
saying
there.
that's the reason, but we're getting there.
But
all right?
but we're getting there. Cool. Well, let's get on over to Saturday. I'm gonna head to Delaware. I think you've got a couple at Delaware too, right, Matt? You
Yeah,
said
I got 2 Delaware.
Okay,
Or,
cool.
yeah, 2 Delaware.
I got a couple at Delaware also. So let's head to Delaware. Sniper, where are you looking for Saturday? You've got Gulfstream. Anywhere else?
Yes. Nope.
Okay, so just Gulfstream.
Straight
We'll
up.
go Delaware.
Yeah.
We'll go over to Gulfstream afterwards.
And then I have Prairie Meadows at the end.
I also do too. So we can head
Okay.
back to
All right.
we can head back to Prairie to close it out.
Cool.
So Delaware, I'll give a look to a few. Where are you for Delaware, Matt?
2 and 4.
Okay, so let's have you start in race 2, and then we'll continue along. Tell us who you're looking at in race 2. I had to give a shout out to this horse. I'm not going to play her, but I sent a text picture of it to my girlfriend Stephanie, the one. Stephanie,
course.
my love, when I saw this horse in the entries a few days ago. So I at least had to mention it, because if for some reason she pulls this stream up and I didn't mention it, you know, at least I can get some brownie points for mentioning it now. And maybe it'll be a good night for me later on tonight. So I guess it's worth mentioning. So Stephanie, my love, there we
I
go.
love it.
Matt,
I
tell
love
us
it.
where we're gonna head in this one.
So this is a maiden special weight 40K, 2-year-olds, 5 furlongs on the dirt, fillies. And so we're going to go to the number 6, Chickiness. 6-1 on the morning line, only going to cost you $5,000. This is a Jamie Ness horse, lights out. It's 30% winning at Delaware, 21% winning maiden second starts. Horse has tremendous early speed. And posted a speed figure that's honestly kind of right there with anybody else. I mean, basically all these horses posted either like a 34 or a 40 buyers from the first time out. So basically right there with everybody else. I like that they're bringing this horse back in 2 weeks. Shows a little bit of confidence coming right back in the spot. It's interesting. The pedigree is kind of untested. It's a newer sire and a newer dam. But if you go back, obviously you're looking Quality Road, Harlan's Holiday. So, second generation back, you're looking at a lot of, certainly a lot of class there. They're also getting a 10-pound weight allowance. So you're looking at a pretty, significant weight allowance there from the jockey standpoint. And again, for these 2-year-old races, I'm just not going to use the favorites. And especially in a card with 8 races, we talked about this before, like you can't avoid these races, or it's tougher to avoid these races because it just forces you to double up in so many more races then. And so I'm just going to go with a horse that flashed some speed, that showed some ability, that has connections that you generally trust in Jamie Ness to fire off effectively in that second start. So I'll go with Chickiness at 6-1 for $5,000. I'm not going to spend up. I'll just spend the average in this 2-year-old race.
And what's great is now that we were able to, Corningstone and Anchorman was like a gold mine for Jake with the memes, because it's just, there's so many ways you can go there. So we made Jake's job very easy on this Friday. Milk was a bad choice. He's drinking it. I'm in a glass case of emotion. There's just so many that we can go to there. As we're at Delaware, I want to just mention a few quickly along the way through. So race number 3 is one that if you're looking to not have to spend up quite as much in here, I did think the 8 was a bit interesting. Scylla will take a good amount of money. This is a nice Louisiana bred. She's super quality here. But if you just sort of look at Jerry B, she's never really done a whole lot wrong. She's a great stable dual horse because she always shows up. She always runs really, really well. And she's like versatile. Just look at the last 2 races and the difference of running styles that she's shown. On May the 14th, she hadn't run in a few months, so she was a little fresher. So they showed more speed that day. And then she came back, a month later, and she was a little more relaxed. She came from off the pace. She closed really, really well. She's getting set for the 3rd start of her form cycle. And if she can just take one more little small step forward, back up to kind of her peak, I think she fits pretty well here. Rodriguez jumps aboard. 6-1 will only cost you $5,000 in your stable dual lineup. So she's kind of a fun horse to throw in race number 3 there. As you said,
I have
what's
4.
next? Next to
Yep.
you? Okay.
Yep, I
Race
have
number
fourth.
4?
Yep.
Okay.
So this is another maiden special weight for 3-year-olds and up, mile 70 on the turf, and we're going to go to the number 3, Victor's Valiant, I should say, who is 5-1 on the morning line and will cost you $6,000 in stable duel. This is an interesting horse, making a little bit of a step up from the maiden claiming to the maiden special weight, but really perked up when it went to turf, and really perked up when it got stretched out, actually, and got away from some of the sprint races and started going a little bit longer. Now, here's the thing. This horse is the speed in this race. But if you go through and look at the rest of this field, there is no other speed in this race.
Yeah.
And so this horse is going to be loose on the lead, being able to set whatever fractions it wants on the front end. And so I kind of like for this horse just to carve out a really nice trip, quite frankly, just kind of loping along in the front end without really much there. And I think this horse has demonstrated the ability to stretch out and kind of dig in. I know he kind of faded a little bit and finished third.
That was the first start going long,
out,
though,
but
too.
that was not
Yeah.
a bad effort stretching out for the first time. So doing that at Monmouth and now coming down to Delaware and running there. So I like this. I mean, I think also you look and this was, this is a horse that has decent turf pedigree. Warfront's producing 16% turf route winners. The Dam Sky the Night was a grade 3 place turf runner. So, there's some nice turf pedigree there. So I just think that this feels just like a pace situation, a pace scenario more than anything else of there's just no other speed. And so I'll take a shot with a horse that I think is going to be able to carve out some really slow fractions on the front end and have plenty left for home. And is going to, I think, be able to get you to the finish line. So Victor's Valiant at 5-1, $6,000 today on Stable Duel.
Cool. As we're at Saturday, Delaware Park, I want to give a look to a couple more on the card. Right next door, it's another stakes race. These are the two biggest weekends for Delaware, right, Matt? Like back to back, where you've got the Delaware Oaks and the Delaware Handicap as big features and lots of under supporting graded stakes races on both weekends. So I promise I won't do a striptease for this one, fellas, with Magic Michael, because I am thinking more like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson, right? I'm a basketball fan. That's what I'm thinking with Magic Michael.
Good call.
Right. I was going to say, I'll keep the shirt on because it's a nice Stable Duel shirt too. It's a nice one of those, like those older Stable Duel ones.
Yeah.
So nobody needs to see my belly. I haven't been out tanning quite enough yet either. I need a couple days. So I probably look a little like Casper, the Friendly Ghost right now when I take the shirt off. Now, Magic Michael, I think it's pretty simple with him. We can just put a line through the turf race last time out. He's just a horse that's not nearly as good on the grass. They took a shot last time. It was kind of like a nice prep, right? As your first start off the bench, as your first start in 6 months, you go on the grass. It's softer on you for your comeback race. You're not even really, it's a stakes race. You're not too concerned about winning it because this is probably what the goal was all along. They were second in this race last year. So you probably had this race mapped out, plotted out as the game plan for Magic Michael. This is a 10-time winner who is a horse who just likes to win races. And Matt, these are the types of horses that it's cool to see on these weekends, because normally you don't see a horse like Magic Michael show up in a stakes race, maybe in a track in like New York or on a Churchill Downs undercard or something. But this horse absolutely fits with some of the better horses you see. He wasn't disgraced by Fat Man here last year. He's been competitive in classy spots. And if you look at the way the race sort of shapes up, I think he'll get a nice trip coming from off the pace. And shout out, I know like 30 or 40% of the country isn't going to be playing this horse, right? The number 7, or maybe the Gentleman Joe riding with Biden Exacta. Definitely going to be a lot of people. That's the funny thing, is that if you like that horse, they may be a little bit overvalued, because I can guarantee you the people that oppose this horse, they're not going to go bet this horse just because of the name.
Right.
Absolutely. It's one of those where they're like, nope, I don't care how much this horse has a shot. I am playing riding with Biden because of that name. Gentleman Joe is also in there. But yeah, Magic Michael is a fine 5-1 shot in a race where I think this has been the plan for him all along. Look, this is a grade 3 winner. This is a horse who won a graded stakes going long at Parks a few starts back. He has class. He beat Last Samurai in that race, and we've seen Last Samurai come back this year and win some big ones. He was very good over at Oaklawn. Last Samurai most recently took a shot in the Stephen Foster. This was your Oaklawn handicap winner. Some of the other horses in this race, Sheer Flattery is another one who got really, really good when dropping down to a lower level and started to rattle off wins over at Parks. So I thought Magic Michael fit in there. And while
also, let me just say that
please.
those connections are winning at a 29% clip. Like when Rodriguez and Ness team up. I mean, so yeah. I mean, it's just that's one of those where you're just like, oh yeah, I'll play that 5-1 all day.
And while we're here, because it's a big day at Delaware, just worth mentioning, I love one of my favorite sort of underrated riders, I think, and I've mentioned on this show a few times, I like to go to him quite a bit because he doesn't get bet a whole ton, and you get a good run for your money as far as the way that he's able to place horses. I'm talking about Kendrick Carmouche with the kind of speed and just the kind of aggressive rider that he is. Even if it's on a horse like this, who I'm not expecting Sister O'Toole to be like on the lead or flashing speed, but he can normally just get them a little closer than whoever was on them before.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's been
all.
the biggest issue with her is she gets so far back and she gives herself so much to do. I really like this horse as well. And I liked this horse last year at the Maple Leaf, I remember, and she came charging out of the clouds for second that day. And so I like Kendrick on this horse to kind of get her going a little bit and at least get her sitting mid-pack. Or something along those lines.
Last time out, Motion said she just hated the yielding turf course.
Yep.
So put a line right through it. You know, she was beaten 40 lengths. It doesn't matter. They just backed her out of the race.
Yeah.
And if we look at the Orchid on April the 2nd, she got shuffled back on the inside right away. She was buried last on the inside. She starts to move up. She's right on the heels of the horse in front of her. So she can't go. And she's in a small field. She's chasing slow fractions. They went almost 52 to the half mile that day. And she was backed up behind everyone, just waiting, just at the mercy. She comes flying. She closes really well. And if you look, she just misses second. She's a nose and a neck out of second that day in a race where Family Way basically won by 2 lengths. So
that was a nice field. I mean, that was Family Way and Harakuja and a Beautiful Lover. Those are nice horses.
Not a bad group at all.
Yeah.
She's 8-1 in this field. She's only going to be 3,000 in Stable Duel. I think this is a good spot for Sister O'Toole here. So I thought she was at least worth mentioning on a very, very fun Delaware card. And you know what? In the handicap, because I'm just feeling extra giving on this Friday, this horse might be cruising.
That's
from the
exactly
front.
what I was. It's funny. That's in my notes because I was like, oh, I bet Gino kind of mentioned the handicap, just even if we don't have a play. But that was my thought is he's just going to cruise up to the front. And I don't know if anybody else is going to be with him.
And I think if you look at this race at first glance and you go, okay, it's the grade 2 Delaware handicap, and you see Let's Cruise, maybe you're a little worried, like, oh, okay, maybe she can't win against a group like this in a graded stakes. Then go through the rest of the field. Who are you scared of? Right? Who scares the heck out of you? That is a legit graded stakes, multiple graded stakes horse. There's nobody. It's a soft renewal of this race. And this is something that Barry, your partner Chuck, talks about quite often. And I'm not trying to like get rid of the Delaware handicap, but this is just another one of those races where there are a lot of races over the last couple months for 3-year-old fillies.
Yeah, it's just timing. Timing's bad with this, and you get a field that's not bad, but just not A level. Like not even B level, to be honest. It's more like the C team.
It's a competitive race, but it's just not a great race.
Yeah, from a betting standpoint, it's contentious. Absolutely. We just don't really have any horses that have been in the top levels against 3-year-olds or against older. Right. Yeah. And so this would be a prime race for like a 3-year-old right now to take on some older, because there aren't really a whole lot of older in here that scare you. And so I'm looking at this field and I'm not really scared from a class standpoint with Let's Cruise. I know she's going to be on the lead. Can she get 1.25 miles? We'll find out. We'll have a few lengths along the way, and she's only going to cost us 3,000 in our Stable Duel lineup to pay to find out. Right. So Let's Cruise is one that I'll definitely be throwing in on a fun Saturday Delaware card. Also,
I should say when I looked at that card, I saw the number 2 horse, and I immediately thought back to my childhood of ba ba da ba ba.
There you go,
Oh,
slam.
there we go. There we
Ba-ba-da.
go.
Yep. And
Nice.
So yes, I always think of that. Whenever I see that horse, I always think of Onyx. I always think of the band.
Onyx 10-1 shot that makes me
Ha-
think
yeah.
of some memories. Some
Yeah,
memories.
Exactly.
It's-
That's what the horse is there for. So.
Yeah.
Memories.
So that's Saturday over at Delaware. Let's head to Gulfstream Park for Saturday. Sniper, where are you looking for Gulfstream Saturday?
Ooh, I got quite a few.
Okay.
3, 4,
You're the man with the
5,
talent.
8, 10.
We'll go along the way. Just lead us.
Just
direct
give
us.
people your whole stable, Barry. My God.
I was gonna say. Yeah. Here you go. Just pay him like an extra $1 fee for using the stable, right? That's all we're
I love
asking
it.
along the way. Yeah. Okay, race
I'm
number
taking
3.
notes.
Let's kick it off with Barry Saturday.
Yeah, 3 is kind of one of, or it's a simple-minded play is how I would describe it. I like number 1, Dakota Boy in this maiden 12-5 7 furlong race on the dirt. This horse has shown speed in the past, especially off the break from February. So May 19th showed some speed and faded at a $25,000 level. Then dropped to 16. It looked like they tried to rate the horse, and he didn't run bad, just a little bit overmatched.
Yeah.
Then they step him back up to 35,000, show speed again going long. The drop, cut in class, and then the cut back in distance. This seems like the most logical spot for a horse, especially coming from a barn that does really well with claiming runners in general.
And
This
there's
is
maybe
just-
one horse you got to clear.
Right.
Right.
And there's no world beaters in here. If you can get out in front of the 3, possibly, you'll have a great shot. And
Even
I
if you
think
can
that's
just
what
kind of get out and sit second, just so you're not
right.
shuffled behind, just get out, show some speed, push the 3 a little bit, make the 3 go, and then you can kind of track second right behind, and you're cutting back, so you'll have a little fitness. Yeah, I like this horse.
Yeah, I mean, a major turnoff in races like this are horses that have lost at the level already.
Yeah.
And that's basically why I kind of would never play the 3. Even, he doesn't really have any sort of edge here in this whole race.
We feel like we've seen the drop down race, right? Where you're supposed
Right.
to kind of wake up and like you're the race is at this level. So is there more of an upside, more of a ceiling with this horse than a horse like yours who maybe has another level to get to?
Right, and then that's really the thought process. And the 5, the Morning Live favorite, Pierre Roar, buyer wise fits, but style wise doesn't. And I just think those 2 horses, the 3 and the 1, are actually quicker than that one. So might be up against it unless they just all out duel and just go like a 21-second first quarter or something. But I think those 2 forwardly placed types will be tough, but I had to go with the 1 here on the drop.
Dakota Boy. Okay, keep navigating us. Where are we headed to next?
Number 4, race 4
Always.
is a maiden optional claimer for 40,000. 5.5 on the Tapeta.
Oh, that's our type of race right there.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is what we were just talking
This is
about.
bread and butter right there. Yeah. Yeah.
This is like the quintessential, Gulfstream race until the end of the year.
It's funny. People ask sometimes like, oh, how do you attack Stable Duel? And I'm like, maiden optional claimers on the Tapeta. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that's how you get it. Like,
Yeah.
like, you go for a price.
And it's funny, in this race, I actually have 2 picks.
Cool.
Nice.
The top pick is the 9 Otumba. I don't know if you can bring up that race.
Yep.
That horse has run already, that she's run.
She was the
Kind of
four.
got shuffled back early and then ran into a wall of horses kind of in the middle of the race too, and just never really had a shot in it. And it doesn't, right here is where the horse kind of gets squeezed a little bit, and you
Yep.
see the action there. The 3 got squeezed out, the 5 kind of came over. But you'll see later on a little bit further here, this horse kind of runs into a wall of horses that are just kind of slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
So you see the 4 just
Yeah.
enter the picture there. The 5 kind of checks a little bit.
Yep.
The 2's in front
Yeah.
of him, and the 10's outside. And this horse really can't go anywhere.
And they back
and
right
that-
up into her.
exactly, it just
that's
kinda-
some of the sneakier trouble that I think people don't look towards, because a lot of times it's just not in the running lines when it's so far back in the field, because it's sort of looked at as maybe irrelevant or it doesn't matter. But that does matter, because when horses finish just a little bit better, like it projects them for their next start. They get kind of bet down a little bit more. It does matter. It gets them back into the race. That's something that I look for too, Sniper. I like seeing sneaky stuff like that.
Yeah, and you know, there was no comment about it in the past performances. But you know, that was the horse's first time out, got in a little bit of trouble. The barn is hitting at 25%.
Yep.
You know, this kind of a layoff, that was in February. Horses coming off a layoff of this type, the trainer is deadly, almost 42% almost. I can't dismiss this horse at 15-1. It almost seems like too easy, because it's like, you know, this horse to me looks logical, even on
Yeah.
paper. You know, out of
This horse
Constitution,
should- feels like a 5-1 shot in here.
and then that's probably what we're gonna get.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna get well below that 15-1, but a stable duel, you know,
That's
you
perfect.
pay 15-1 for a horse that goes off
Sniffing-
5-1 and has a pretty good shot. You know, that's basically what you're there for.
Yeah, sniffing out
Um,
that bad morning line, or a morning, not bad is always the wrong word, but just a morning line that you think might be off a little bit. And yeah, you can get very well rewarded, because it'll only cost you 500 for Otumba. You said you have
Yeah.
another in the same race, though,
Yeah,
right?
the 7, Laveau. I think this horse may have a little bit of upside here. They're getting top rider here, Joe Orsino. That last workout on the Tapeta really kind of piqued my interest.
Yeah.
You know, there's not many works on the Tapeta in general, which is a little strange. I think they limit them on how many can work in the morning, but that workout was pretty good, and even the subsequent workouts on the dirt were pretty good. And Edgar Perez and Orsino are hitting at 42% themselves, and this is owned and trained by Joe Orsino too, which does make a difference, because when the trainer is the owner, they can be a little bit more aggressive and kind of wait for their spot. You know, they're the ones paying the bills. So, you know, this one might be well meant, and I wouldn't want to leave them out, just because there's really, this is a really strange race. I mean, the favorite, you know, looks okay, but you know, I can't get into that at 8-5 with Parchita.
No,
I mean,
no,
there's
thank
too
you.
many opportunities here, and the horses that have run other than Parchita don't look particularly well. So, you know, it's a good race in my opinion to take a shot, because even if Otumba or Laveau finish second and third, you're still doing well.
So we are continuing along at Gulfstream Park. Where you want to head next, Sniper?
5, race 5.
Okay, let's
We're gonna
get
put
to
together a pick 3 here.
put together an good old fashioned straight pick 3. So race number 5, we're back on the dirt. Who are we looking to here?
Number 6, Calculated Breeze. And you know, you kind of look at this horse's past performances, and it may appear that this horse needs the lead, but I don't believe so. And that's really what I'm kind of banking on here, is that's where the gamble is, that this horse doesn't need the lead, because Geoscience definitely needs the lead. If you look at Calculated Breeze's last race, they rated this horse at a level a little bit higher than this, so they're cutting back to half the claiming price. But the horse made a move. I mean, I don't know if you can pull up that race.
And it was it was a good, like, it was what you're.
It was
what
a
you're
winning
hoping.
move. Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, it just couldn't sustain the whole bid, and I think that's where the class comes into play. The horse was probably a little bit over his head, and this slight claiming drop will make a difference here. And
So he's the 2
the
also.
2 horse, yeah.
And he, you know, so he has to take back a little bit out of that spot, shuffle a few lengths also, not the easiest. And then we'll come back on again here. So
Right, he makes a move here. He kind of gets through on the rail.
And that's after a little bit of traffic, right? He's waiting, he's behind horses. He's not really getting to push the button and to kind of dictate his own trip. Now there's a little more room. There's a little more opening down on the inside, and he's able to move back through.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is experience. You know,
Yeah.
they were teaching the horse how to rate.
Yep.
More or less. And, you know, he didn't run that bad. I think getting stuck on the inside really kind of helped, you know, hurt his chances
Mhm.
with that kind of trip. Getting off the rail is probably even better with the speed inside. You know,
It's a
I
lot
think
better
this
than it
horse has
looks
a
on paper.
right, and I think this horse has a really good chance to sit off a horse like Geoscience and take over at the top of the stretch and run away with it.
Yeah, that's a lot better than it looks on paper too. When you're down on the inside and everyone else's momentum is built up towards the outside, it's just hard to really hit that hole and accelerate.
Right,
So
and especially after kind of stopping a little bit, getting shuffled back, and then coming at it again, still on the rail
now
instead
you're
of coming
waiting.
outside. Right, it's just a tougher trip, and I think this horse is going to get a better trip today.
Calculated
tomorrow.
breeze there for the old school pick 3. I think you said you got what, 8? 1 or 2
8
more?
and 10.
Yeah,
Yeah.
while we're here, let's get through them. 8 and 10. Race number 8. Where are we looking?
We're looking at number 1, Rothgar. I think the H is silent, right?
Yeah, I think,
We'll say that, sure.
yeah.
Yeah, the H is silent, so we'll go with Rothgar. You know, this is an inexpensive non-winners at $20,000 claim.
Yes. Yes. So polite.
And this horse, you know, got claimed second time or you know, in the maiden score, which, you know, kind of piqued my interest as the favorite. So somebody had this horse on their radar, you know, that was first time synthetic, and kind of dominated that event. Then moved up to optional claimer 16,000. Still ran good, and this is why I like this horse. He handled the rising class pretty well.
Yeah.
And you don't see that much coming from you know, like a maiden claimer 12.5. You don't really see that unless the circumstances are so bad with that other race that, you know, there's really nobody else but anybody coming out of, you know, a maiden score, which wasn't the case in that race. But, you know, there's not very much speed in here, and this horse is good enough to be close enough to where you
At
can
least
get off the
secure.
rail, right? To get a good position and get off the rail. I would love to see this horse kind of move away from the rail and then come charging late. The style fits. It's just a, you know, it's a trip race. You know, this is almost reminds me of a harness race. The way
Yeah.
that this, you know, you got to handicap this one for a trip, and I think Rothgar can get the trip at 8-1 morning line. Definitely another one worth a shot.
If Rothgar
I don't think
wins,
that horse is going to be 8-1, to be honest. He's
And
going
if
to
he-
get bet down.
if he wins, we'll see him pacing over at the Big M next week.
And
following,
we'll also find out whether or not Pete Aiello agrees that it's a silent H. Or
Yeah.
you know, we'll find out.
Hrothgar, right? We're gonna hear him like with the real heavy H. He's gonna hawk it up, you know, like for there just to really let us know that we were wrong as we finish up Saturday at Gulfstream in the 10th, right, Barry?
Yes, sir. Which is
Okay.
a stakes race.
Yeah, nice little stakes here on the dirt. It's the carry back. Where are we looking?
We're looking at number 6, Strike Hard. I think this horse is just a really logical play. There's a ton of speed in here. You got Reddington, Klugman, who has speed, King Cab. That's just what that horse does. I mean, he has to go to the lead. And then you have the one, Octane, who's just a speedball. So these horses, the rest of them are kind of closers, you know. I just thought Strike Hard was the best of the rest. Ran into some decent races back in the wintertime and last year. You got White Abario a couple of times, Classic Causeway, Simplification. He actually beat Skippy Longstocking back in December 5th. This horse has been keeping way better company than a lot of these other horses. You know, King Cab, who is interesting, hasn't really been knocking heads with the greatest horses. I remember seeing him win pretty easily at Tampa. I was actually doing the races that day. And the horse that actually came out of that race that he won, Lightning Larry, ended up winning on Preakness Day. but I mean, this is a really one-dimensional horse.
Yeah.
If this horse doesn't get his own way on the lead, he tends to quit. He doesn't really fall back way back, but he ends up losing. And usually at a short price. I mean, I know last time he went up against Willie Boy, who's razor sharp, that came back to win the other day. But there's so much speed in here that,
And he's in
I think,
between it too,
right,
on both sides, speed to the
exactly.
inside, speed to the outside. So he may not have it easy at all at any
Right.
point in this race.
And I just thought he was very vulnerable here, as well as the other speeds. So Strike Hard was a horse I liked, on the Derby Trail when he was on it. But this is a good spot for him, and I think
agree.
he's gonna do well.
Yeah, I've liked him too. We've talked about him a few times, Matt,
Yeah.
before Strike Hard,
Yep.
and he had a little trouble down here. His Sam F. Davis race was not bad at all. He got sort of a wake-up win, and then he went in the Texas Derby, and that wasn't a bad race either, where he was behind King Ottoman, who's going to be running at Prairie Meadows, or no, is King Ottoman running at Indy or Prairie Meadows? Indy, I think.
I think
right?
Indy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Gulfstream Park, as we will head on over to Prairie Meadows for their big Saturday night, Matt. I've got a couple. I'm looking at like 6, 7, and 8, Matt, for Prairie. Where are you headed for Prairie?
I have 4 and 5. So
okay, so
we'll just
let's go
knock
right
out.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, for people who are maybe new to Prairie Meadows that are wondering why, we don't do a lot of race 1 and 2 or 3, it's because they're kind of the inverse of Indiana Grand, where Indiana has the, sprints, the 330-yard sprints at the end of their card. Prairie Meadows has them at the beginning of their card. So a lot of times unless I just feel overwhelmingly compelled to play those races in Stable Duel, I will just go to race 4 and start playing it that way.
Yeah.
And so race 4 is a main special weight, 32,000 for 3 to 6 year olds, 6 furlongs on the dirt. And I will go with the horse who I had to, of course, chuckle a little bit when I saw the name of it. The number 1, Feeling My Oats. And this is a horse that's 5 to 1 on the morning line, only going to cost you $6,000. And this is a horse that will break from the inside and is going to use speed. Obviously, this horse has speed and is going to have to use it here. Interestingly enough, I think the 3 Gotta Runs is probably the biggest potential early speed challenge to this horse. Gotta Runs is coming off over a year layoff. And so those, sometimes those horses really feel fresh and are going to, just go fast. Sometimes they, don't fire out of the gate maybe as effectively as they think. So you never know what you're going to get out of the horses coming off that long of a layoff. But to be honest, kind of like Barry taking a shot at the previous race, I actually wouldn't mind if Feeling My Oats sat second in this race and didn't need to go to the lead, and actually kind of maybe just sat inside and tracked a little bit. So to the 3, if that ends up being the case. But this is a horse that got the blinkers on last time, just got nosed out a little bit. 3 previous races were all pretty solid. The first lost to a Next Out winner the first time. That second race has actually produced 2 Next Out winners from Will Rogers. And so, so Kachina went out and won an allowance and then went up and finished 3rd in a stakes race. And so, pretty nice company there. And so, and then the last time out actually beat Rome's Burning, who's 3 to 1 on the morning line in this race, as well as the number 6 horse. So, AJ's Pride. So I just think Feeling My Oats, I think the race is going to set up pretty nicely. I think the blinks really help this horse focused. And I just think this horse has the kind of necessary early speed to potentially just run away from the field. So I'll use Feeling My Oats at 5 to 1 for $6,000 in race 4.
And then in race number 5, Matt will have another one for us right next door.
Yes.
Who you're looking at in the 5th?
And so the 5th is a $33,000 allowance N1X for 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares, 6 furlongs on the dirt. And I'm going to give you a big price here. I'll go to the number 6, Proud Foot,
Nice.
20 to 1.
Nice. Here we
$250.
Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go.
Enough of this 6 to 1 horse shit. And so, let's go to.
Oh, my virgin ears.
I love it. I love it.
So, no, this pick is all about pace, because if you scroll back up, Gino, the 1 is going to go. The 2 is going to go. The 4 is going to go. The 5 is going to go. And they're just going to be, it's going to be a cavalry charge out of the gate
They should be
in those
flying.
front. Yeah, they're going to be flying up front. And so when I was looking at this race, and if you notice, a lot of those horses are among the favorites. And I was like, well, this is a great opportunity to just fade the favorites. Like, who do I
Yeah.
like to close? And I ended up landing on Proudfoot, who's a bit of a plotter, but has best leg speed out of everybody in the field, and I think can just kind of pick up the pieces, quite frankly.
That's all you're looking for in this race, is for him to plod and grind home.
Exactly. And so I just think this horse can pick up the pieces. I know she just broke her maiden last time out, but she's been improving since switching to the new barn. Trainer John Hall does not run much, but is winning 50%, 3 out of 6 at Prairie Meadows so far this meet. Gets a nice jockey with Gonzalez hopping aboard. So I just think there's a lot working in this horse's favor, and the speed figures are not that far off of where some of the other horses are. And like I said, I think she'll just be able to take advantage of that insane pace that's going to be up front. And I could very easily see a situation where those inside 4 or 5 horses are going 4 or 5 wide through the turn and down the stretch and just neck and neck with each other. And I think the 6 just sits back, lets them run that race, and just starts picking up the pieces at the end. And for $250, if you get a 3rd place finish out of this horse, that's a huge win. So, do I think Proudfoot wins? Probably not, but I think she's going to run a nice race.
Proudfoot, a big price there for Matt. We're going to help you out quite a bit with your Prairie Meadows stable dual lineups for Saturday, because we're going to give you some nice prices along the way. And my biggest price is going to come in race number 8, but I'll give you one or two to look at before we get there. This 6th race is a stakes race, and this is a good race if you're like Matt said, maybe you're someone who doesn't handicap Prairie Meadows a whole lot. You have a 2-year-old stakes race, and you have horses who recently just won broke their maiden at Churchill Downs. They come in from good races there. I think all of them will probably get a little bit of support. Top Recruit was an impressive winner at Churchill. Undelay won at Churchill after having raced at Keeneland, and Prove Right also won at Churchill. The horse who I actually like a little bit is the 6, Todd Chero, who's drawn towards the outside because there's so much speed in here. Todd Chero at least is in a spot where he's the outside of all the other speeds. And we don't really know what kind of quality that he beat, but we do know that the horse that he beat did come right back to win in their next start. And this was the horse who was actually favored in that debut race. So BWP Spirit came right back to win. I think it's a good spot. When we talked about Sam Houston earlier on in the year, someone that I just became a big fan of the last couple of years is Lane Luzzy. He does a great job with speed horses like this. I think he should be able to get out of the gate, sort of look over, see what the others are doing. Do you want to go real quick to try to clear them? Maybe you can sit off a little bit. I thought Todd Chero was worth some inclusion at 6-1. Won't cost you a whole lot, and $5,000 mutual.
And I think, Gino, to your point, these horses, the 2-year-olds, I think it's important for people to realize when they see these running lines, like most of these 2-year-olds are going to wire the field early on. And
right.
That doesn't mean that that's their running style. That doesn't mean that's what they need to do by any stretch of the imagination. So, when you see all ones in these 2-year-old races, you shouldn't be, it's not necessarily going to be a speed duel, but these horses have probably a little bit more versatility than they've been asked to show to this point.
A lot of times, like you said, you have a good start, you're in that race, and you just don't want to grab a hold of these horses. So you go on with it. And when a horse, you're looking to see if they can sit off and show some patience, I like the outside draw. Gives them, I think, a little bit more of an opportunity, and they aren't forced quite as much. Todd Chero there, right next door. It's the Iowa Oaks. There's a lot of speed in this race, so thought maybe at least worth mentioning Butterbean as a possibility. What's cool about Butterbean, who's 5-1, she's
that
got
guy's still alive.
Right? Is Butterbean? Gosh,
I
gotta
don't
look
know.
that one up. We gotta look that one up. Yeah, because Butterbean actually had a run in the WWE. Well, he had a match in the WWE because they did what was called the Brawl for All. They were trying to set up a tournament that it was supposed to be like a worked shoot, because they wanted to get Dr. Death, Steve Williams, over as this real tough guy and
Yep.
as like the next contender for Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yep.
So what they did was they created like a boxing tournament where they were actually having guys fight each other, not not scripted wrestling. They let two guys go into the ring and just box.
Just box. Yeah, I
And what
remember
ended-
that.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening, you know what's going to happen. There's always going to be like some ego that gets in there. One or two people are going to be mad because they don't come off looking good. And one thing that you think is going to happen, this one guy just came in and he knocked Dr. Death out. And
Bart
he threw
Gunn.
Bart Gunn.
Yeah.
And he threw the whole thing out of whack. And then poor Bart Gunn has to go and deal with Butterbean. And he's in the ring against a trained boxer. And Butterbean just lays poor Bart Gunn out. It was like,
Yeah.
it was brutal. It was like 2 seconds. And Butterbean's got such quick hands.
Yeah, his boxing record is pretty good. He's
Yeah.
77-10,
He was nuts.
58 knockouts, and
was
he is
nuts.
still alive. He's
He was
55 years old.
nuts. So shout out
Yeah.
to Butterbean. And
And I will say, shout out to Bart Gunn, who was in the doghouse with WWE after that because he knocked out the Golden Goose with
Yes.
Dr. Death. And because he was in the doghouse, he got sent down to my dad's promotion.
Look at
in
that.
Pennsylvania Championship
it
Wrestling.
all
And Bart
comes
Gunn,
together.
Bart Gunn and I got to know each other real well in the mid 90s.
That's so cool. That's
and he was
great.
a super nice guy. And he was, it was one of those things where he just said, he goes, you just bite down your mouthpiece and you just start throwing punches. And he goes,
Yeah.
nobody told me I shouldn't knock this guy out. And so he goes, I punched him as hard as I could and he went down. It was like, what are you going to do? But he said, Butterbean, I said the same thing to him. He goes, the biggest mistake you made was you tried to box me. He said, if
Yeah.
you came out and just started throwing haymakers, he goes, maybe you had a chance. But the fact that you actually like put him up and tried to box, he goes, you're not going to,
He was
he goes, it's
surgical.
going to be yeah.
He just and the problem is when in incidents like this, it's always the boxer feels offended,
Right.
right? Like that a wrestler is in there going like, I can box with you. They're like,
Right.
you want to see you can box with me? I'll give you a little like, So
Yeah.
it's the flip side, right? I think if a boxer comes into the wrestler's world and they stack up there and they're trying to wrestle them, the wrestler's going to do the same thing like in Rocky
Oh,
3,
totally.
right?
Yeah.
Thunder
Oh.
Lips. We're gonna get Thunder Lips and then and Hulk Hogan in the exhibition there. So as we continue along,
Butterbean has to win now.
he's got to
Yeah.
win. We
Butter-
spent so much
all
time
in on
talking
Butterbean.
about him. And what's nice is when there's a stakes card at a track like Prairie Meadows, I really like when horses that are pointing for the big stakes race come in and run in a prep race before that and get a good run over the track. Because then you have some other horses that ship in and they're at a little bit of a disadvantage compared to a horse like Butterbean, who's already got a local spin, knows what the track is like, knows the routine, the barns, just has been there before. I think Butterbean has a big shot to come closing in here because the one with the inside draw, she's got to go a little bit. Miss Hard Knocks is most likely going to be sitting, but she wants to be closer than she was last time out. No doubt about it. You've got Falconet, who's going to be right up on the lead. You've got the 7 Hartley and the 8 No Silver Spoon here, who should both be forwardly placed. So I'm looking for an off the pace runner. I'm looking for Butterbean. Come on, gal. I was going to say big gal, but big. That's not really accurate, right? He was a big boy. He wasn't really a gal. So yeah, Butterbean. Let's see if we can get a knockout punch from Butterbean. In the Iowa Derby, we found out that Rattle and Roll, who was entered in this race, is actually going to be running in the Indiana Derby.
Mm-hmm.
Rattle and Roll is coming back on 7 days, which is I think it's pretty cool when you have a horse that's sharp like this, especially in this current era of horse racing when we are always talking about how horses spread their races out and they don't run very much. It's like you got a sharp horse. Hey, you know what? We're going to be favored in one of these races. Like instead of a workout, let's go give it a try. And I think Rattle and Roll not being in this race is very important because for similar handicapping reasoning that I was just giving, there's a lot of speed in this race. You've got Rome, who draws the inside. Rome is going to go. You've got Big Blue Line right next door. This guy's very quick. Major General, especially at like a reduced level like this, he's got to be right there or sitting close to the lead, I'd imagine. You've got Actuator, who's going to be close. I think they said he's going to run in Indiana. Did they say? I'm not positive. I think I got. I think
Yeah, I
I
think
heard
so.
that right. So whether or not he runs in this race, Conacher right next door is very quick, and he wants to be close. You've got Field of Fear, who's going to be again pressing, not far off. Diamond Rim, probably close up pressing. Ain't Life Grand, another one who's a little like close up pressing. There should be a lot of speed. I'm going to Chileno here. So he actually broke his maiden and he beat Older last time. Now he's back in with 3. And if you look at Chileno and you're worried about him from like a class standpoint because he's been facing maidens and now this is a tougher spot, look at who he's run into in some of his races. 2 starts back, he was just behind Best Actor, and Best Actor we will see as a major player in Stakes Company this weekend. Best Actor is 2 for 2. We talked about Best Actor earlier with Jake in the Indiana Derby.
Mhm.
So you look at We the People, who he ran into. How about Kuchar, who is actually right behind Rattle and Roll in the American Derby last weekend at Churchill. So Chileno just took a while to put it all together, but he is a horse that is actually one of the truer closers that can really pick up pieces and pass horses. We the People, Trafalgar. He's dealt with really classy runners. He's got 4 consecutive good races where it felt like he's really starting to figure it out. And it seemed like the Lasix coming in, he also improved, in like his second start with Lasix. Ethereal Road, another one in his running lines. He's been, knocking heads with some nice horses. They paid $375,000 for him, so they always had some pretty high hopes for him. And I've said this type of thing before. It's not always linear with every horse. It's not always just immediately they're awesome. Sometimes it takes a little while to get them figured out. Chileno, and with 2 likely scratches in this race, his price is already going to go down, right?
Yep.
Because 2 horses that are shorter. So even if he is half of his morning line and he's like 6-1 or 8-1 or something in that range, we're only paying for him off of that 12-1 morning line. I like him a lot in this spot. That's Chileno, the number 10 in the Iowa Derby. That is Prairie Meadows for Saturday. I guess we can spend 1 second just pulling the Indiana Oaks and Derby up, at least mentioning it, because there are some big races over there. Matt, what contest do we have for Indiana on Saturday for some of the Stable Duel players?
Yeah, let me let me get that up for you guys real quick.
And we'll pull up.
So for Saturday at Indiana, we have I believe a couple of different contests, but Saturday at Indiana, we actually just have the one, which is the $40 contest, which is $2,000 a pot, and it's a single entry, so you got
Nice.
one shot.
Yeah.
I always like those single entries,
Right? Yeah.
I played one at Woodbine yesterday, and I finished in the money. I finished at 11th, and that was but I was like single entry. You really get the truest sense of handicapping skills with the single entry, because you can't just kind of play around with different things. So I like those single entry competitions.
If you're playing in any Stable Duel contest too, I thought in the 10th race, the 9 El Kabong, possibly a horse that you may want to throw in. Just a sharp horse that you won't have to pay up a whole lot for. This is a horse who's won back-to-back races. This is a horse who has a poor performance at the end of 2021 in his 6th race of the year. So just like racing caught up with him. Then the 2 races that you look at where he was 5th, beaten 4 lengths, he had legitimate trouble in both of those. And all of a sudden, everything else fits really well. And he's peaking. He's going to go 3rd start off the bench, 3rd start of the form cycle. And he's making his 3rd start as an older horse too. He just keeps getting a little bit better. El Kabong. The Indiana Oaks is race number 11. The Indiana Derby is race number 12. I thought the Oaks was just going to be tough to get by the Black-Eyed Susan winner, and she's going to be a pretty short price in here. That is Interstate Daydream for Brad Cox. Matt, she was nice winning the Black-Eyed Susan. We haven't really seen her do a whole lot wrong.
No, we haven't, and she really was. I mean, she sat right off the pace and just and just showed a lot of class. Coming down the stretch, and really easily kind of going by some of the other top 3-year-old fillies. So, I mean, hard to go against a Cox horse that hasn't had a misstep yet. and especially against this level of field.
And in the Indiana Derby, Sniper, we know that Rattle and Roll will likely be headed here. I believe Actuator will also be headed here. If anyone wants to look for like a horse that it won't cost you a whole lot to use in your stable dual lineup, I might throw the one Trademark in on some spots. And Trademark may not be quite as proven or classy as some of the others, but he is a horse who, if you look at his 2-year-old races, he started to improve, right? First time out, just a little bit overmatched, had some, slow starts in his first 2, comes back, breaks his maiden in his 3rd start. And then at the end of last year, we're thinking, oh, this is nice. He's a 3-year-old, or he's a 2-year-old who's put back-to-back wins together. They give him some time off. He shows back up to see if he can get some Kentucky Derby points. And then he runs into Classic Causeway, who at that point of the year at Tampa, he was one of the better 3-year-olds, and he was really, really good at that point. So you run into a nice horse, first time out, you're just dusted. You come back, he's 5th in the Tampa Bay Derby. He's only beaten 3 lengths. That's not that bad of an effort. He comes back again in the Bluegrass. He's 5th behind Zandon, Smile Happy, and Emmanuel. Like, that's not that bad of an effort in the Bluegrass. Then in the Pat Day Mile, he just sort of gets outrun by Jack Christopher, who comes right back and crushes, and he's going to be headed to the Haskell, and now Trademark is going to get Lasix for the first time. I feel like if you're looking for maybe a long shot to use in, underneath spots or in stable duel, you can make some excuses for this horse, and you can sort of look at it and say, okay, we have some reasons why he maybe didn't run all that great in some of those efforts. Trademark will be on 1 or 2 lineups for me. Barry, give us a thought or two on the Indy Derby.
Yeah, I kind of like Trademark a little bit here. I think this horse was kind of over his head for a while, most of the early part of the year. Now, again, in the second half of the year, the only thing that kind of gives me a little bit of pause is what kind of running style you're going to get.
Right? Yeah.
I would think this horse is going to be like a stalker type, not really
That'd
want
be
the lead.
great
But
if he could sit like 3rd,
right.
That'd be perfect.
Exactly. And I think automatically just dropping down into a race like this from the Pat Day Mile, Bluegrass, Tampa Bay Derby, he's going to move up automatically just off that alone. So, the post position actually is an advantage. I like his last work too. So I'm on board with Trademark.
Trademark there.
Yep.
Rattle and Roll, Matt, will be likely the favorite in here. Best Actor and Actuator, though, are some lightly raced runners with upside. We got the Rebel winner, Un Oho. And
Well,
he's
you
gonna be
already
coming-
know how I feel about Unoho.
Yeah.
If that horse beats you, you might want to.
If he beats you, he beats you. Yeah. If he wins, it's not going to be with my money, unfortunately.
No. And
Not at 6-1. I would
No.
never bet him at 6-1.
No.
He's got to be like 50-1.
But the one thing I also say, Barry, just to follow up on Barry's point about Trademark, is I actually like to see this because I'm looking at. I've already started looking at the Colonial card on Monday, and by the way, there's a horse in Colonial on Monday named Commodore Barry, which is what Barry would
okay.
be named if he was in the
Okay.
Navy.
Nice.
So, but Trademark. I like horses that kind of get their ass kicked at like big levels. And
Right.
it always reminds me of when like small schools go up and play like Kentucky and Kansas,
Right.
and like in basketball.
Yep.
And they're from like the Southern Conference, and then they go and play in the Southern Conference and they just blow the barn doors off of
It's
everybody.
like, oh, wait. I had to break the full court press of, like one of these teams that's got 6 NBA players and they're all like long. And now I get to go back and play in this smaller school where nobody's
Right.
putting pressure
Back in
on
the
me.
conference play.
Right.
Yep.
You go back into conference play. I actually really like that. I like when you kind of, and you've seen this, and now I'm blanking on the horse. It's a filly. It's a filly that sprints, sprints against the boys sometimes. But every time she drops back down and against the girls, she wins. It's a Cox horse. I'm blanking on the name. But anyway, it's just one of those things where I like when you see horses that just run against tougher and then kind of drop down. And I think Trademark for 15-1. I'll take every penny of that.
It's funny. If you just look at Trademark's past performances and you look at Un Oho, without the morning line, you'd probably flip-flop them as
You're
far as
right.
morning line price.
No, you're right. And if like just on speed figures,
Yeah.
they're like the same. They're very similar.
Very
Yeah,
It just
and
so
one's
happened that-
15-1 and
Yeah.
You know, Owen just happened to get lucky and won a race that was a grade 2.
When-
I
it
authentically
was-
think that horse got lucky.
Yeah, and he was 80 to 75 to 1 in that race where he got a great trip, and he's got to prove it again. He really does. Shout out to the team of Kentucky Derby winners teaming up here. Doug O'Neill and Leon teaming up together.
Funny.
Yeah, so how about that? On a cool weekend, Stable Duel has some fun contests this weekend. You've got Prairie Meadows with big games. You've got Indy with big games. You've got Delaware with big games. And they just added an Ellis Park game because it's a opening weekend out there at Ellis Park. You've also got opportunities for free rides on Friday and on Saturday at Prairie Meadows. And Barry, before we get out of here, you did let us know that we had a scratch with one of your plays, so you got an audible call for us, right?
Yes, in race 6 today at Gulfstream, Cloud Storage is out. We're gonna move that money over to Val's Gal number 2. The Ralph
Val's-
Nix horse that I actually mentioned,
Yep.
second time starter. So we're going there.
Perfect. So we got the audible call there. And I will tell you, on 4th of July, I got to hang out. Normally, we have big 4th of July party because where I grow up, fireworks are legal. And so it was really cool my whole life growing up. We'd always have a big party. A lot of people would come over. We have big fireworks stuff at the end. We'd have a softball game. Unfortunately, the last couple of years with the way things have been, we haven't had really big parties. We did have just a few people over this year. One of the people that was over, Joey Cleveland. And and I said, Joey, man, you are like one of the stars of our show each week. I just hope you know that we mention your name at least once or twice, before when your song comes in and out, and we're always smiling and we're always grooving. And he said, man, I got a new guitar. I need some work from you. Please throw me a bone. Give me something to do. So maybe we'll have a newly updated version, or he's going to be working on some stuff for me too. So
we got to call him JFC.
Yeah,
JFC.
there we go. JFC, baby. Shout out to Joey, who I got a chance to have a beer with on 4th of July. Joey, thank you for always giving us a good laugh and a good smile each and every Friday morning when we get in that mode. We get the shoulders a-shaking. You know what time it is? It's time for Joey.
Better. You want to spread your pony, no